Hello and welcome back to Jack's Labs. Today we are going to be doing the Bouncing Egg Lab, but first let's go over the associated vocabulary with this unit. Starting with solubility. Solubility is the ability of a substance to dissolve in another and form a solution. Next, regarding solubility, are the two components of solubility, starting with the solvent, which is the substance that does the dissolving, and then the solute, the substance that gets dissolved. Next, on to acids. An acid is a substance that forms aqueous solutions with a pH of less than 7. Continuing on with acids, starting with strong acids. In strong acids, all the acid particles will dissociate versus weak acids, where only a small portion of acid particles will dissociate, also known as not fully ionizing, and this reaction is reversible. Now, a common misconception is strength versus concentration. Strength is how much an acid actually dissociates, while concentration is just how much acid there is in a certain volume. And finally, the measure of pH. pH is the measure of the concentration of hydrogen ions in a solution, and that can be thought of having more hydrogen means it's more acidic. That'll conclude the vocab portion of this video. Let's get into the actual lab. So first, you're going to need to gather all of the materials. The materials you'll need are 5 jars with lids, white vinegar, 5 raw eggs, a ruler, a measuring cup, a dish, a water source, camera, tape and marker, container, and then a fork. Once you have all these materials, you're going to open each jar and you're going to place a raw egg inside each jar. And make sure to be careful while placing it inside, as the egg is very fragile. Next, on your jars, you're going to find a mark that you'll use as your fill line. If you don't have one, you can always draw one on. But with these jars, they had a mark on the lid that worked. Next, you're going to measure out the amount of liquid you are going to have for each of your trials based on the amount of vinegar or water that's going to be used. Make sure to take into account the eggs displacing the volume. First, you're going to take 100% water and you're going to pour that on top of the egg in the jar and then close the jar. Make sure to label the containers. You don't want your containers to get mixed up. So as you can see, I was labeling my containers to either have 100% water, so on and so forth with the different percentages. You're going to repeat those steps just like we did for the 100% water solution, but with 100% vinegar, 75% vinegar, 25% water, 50-50, and then 25% vinegar and 75% water. Next, we have to let some time pass. So we're going to wait 3 days for this solution to have an effect on the egg. After 3 days, we're going to open each jar individually without spilling any of the contents. It's okay if you spill a little liquid, just want to be careful with the egg. And we're going to use our fork to remove all the liquid contents from each jar, making sure that the egg doesn't come out, but all the liquid does. And I used a sink to pour out the liquid, so I would just have the 5 eggs in each jar. Once you have the 5 eggs ready, it's time to start dropping. Get your ruler ready and have it in an upright position. Have your container ready. I used a pan and start dropping from 12 inches high. Repeatedly do this with all 5 eggs and see what happens with the bounce height. As you see here, we had a little bit of problem with the actual eggs and some of them burst, but you're going to hear me talking about what really went on when I was doing the experiment. So here we go.
Overall thoughts after just testing, pretty bad testing, but what are you gonna do with the limited time we have and limited trials? It just seemed like dropping it from that high was just bursting the layer, but I could tell they were very bouncy and it was actually pretty interesting. Although the data might not be that great because we had a couple of bursts, the covering of the eggs were very sensitive, so it was kind of tough. But what are you gonna do? I guess we'll see when I get into the editing software.
So you heard me say it there, problems happen, science happens. It's a cool experiment featuring osmosis, and that's it. That's the whole experiment. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next lab.